Hello, welcome to Prime Lenses. I'm Ian. Each week I speak with a photographer about 3 lenses that have meant something to them on their photographic journey. And this week my guest is Brandon Talbot. And I promise we do talk about lenses. Eventually. Brandon is a photographer, videographer and YouTuber who's been sharing his photographic journey now for some time and has really pivoted hard into photography in the last 6 months. He loves landscapes and has recently started to print his work with an eye on books and other physical media in the future because he feels that that is when a photograph becomes a photograph. One of the things I really like about Brandon is his growth mindset. He's previously been an athlete and he applies this sensibility to his craft and I love it. His enthusiasm is infectious, he's a lovely dude, and I hope you enjoy this conversation with Brandon.
I mean, I have a face for radio, so I figure I figure if they can only hear me and not see me, it better not sound like trash.
That's very good of you, thank you.
Yeah, for sure, buddy. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm reminded there was a story I grew up with, and I can't remember the name of the musician. I'd need to go back and look at it. But it was some guy in the 70s before I was born. It was my parents told this story that there was a guy who 1 week on TV. We had a TV show in the UK called Top of the Pops, right? Which was obviously, as the name suggests, it was all of the finest songs of the hit parade of the week, right? And. Yeah. And this guy was on, and the story goes, something went wrong with the cameras, and you could only hear it. And that guy went to number 1 that week. And then the following week, when the cameras were working, his sales dropped off a cliff because it turned out
nobody wanted to look at him.
Yeah, he didn't have the looks to back it up. It was a cruel reminder of how fickle art and creativity and stuff, how fickle the market sometimes can be.
That's a real shame.
Yeah, got it. I'll need to look that up and put it in the show notes. But yeah.
Casey Kasem. That's what we had here in America. I don't remember. I don't know if you have ever heard of Casey Kasem. So
I have from Ghostbusters, right? Because isn't Casey Kasem... Yeah, he's in Ghostbusters.
So he did... I think
it's just his voice,
but
though,
I think so. I think you're right. For, like 4 or 5 decades, he had like a top 20 type of thing. I think like he was just cryogenically preserved and they kept him going.
Well, there becomes a point where people like that have this kind of odd encyclopedic knowledge of of just like you can't you keep them around because they've been around for everything and they're just part of the furniture. There was on the photography front years ago. I remember there was a guy, Bill Cunningham, used to take fashion photos in New York. Mm-hmm. So he did all the on the streets with Bill, right, was the thing. Okay. And when Bill passed away, Bill was an amazing photographer, but he was a film photographer for like the longest time, and then he shot with like a Nikon D40. And he, Anna Wintour, always, when he passed away, Anna Wintour said, "We all dressed for Bill," right? Like that was the thing. And Bill was just like, by the end of his life, he looked like an older guy on a bicycle, just careening around New York City in a French worker's jacket, like always the same uniform, like a blue French worker's jacket, there with the photos. And you wouldn't have thought anything, you wouldn't have thought twice. And there's a documentary about him, and there's a bit where he's trying to get into New York Fashion Week, and the security guard like won't let him in because he thinks he's someone's dad with a camera. And this person like sprints over and takes Bill gently by the shoulder and says to the security guard, and I think this is a direct quote, says, "No, you don't understand how important he is," and just brings him in. It's amazing.
That is something I aspire to.
Yeah, sure. Right. That's the dream. It wasn't that what that Sony event you went to? Wasn't that what that was like? You walked in and they were like, "Oh, thank goodness Brandon's here."
Oh, hell no. Sony event. I did an event with Chris Brockhurst and Kofi, a couple of YouTubers in this space in Toronto that Sony kind of hosted, but that's it. Yeah. And at no point was anybody fawning over me. They put me on a panel, and I was like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, I don't belong here.
I'm here with people who know what they're talking about. No, but I think that's a lovely feeling, right? I think that's a lovely feeling when we reach that, and also, I think the likelihood of us talking is greatly increased by the fact that your general attitude is not one of, let me tell you how great I am, right? Like I don't tend to have people on the podcast who arrive with their ego as an entourage, like
I'm gonna stop you there because the list of incredible photographers that you've had on this podcast is extensive. And I'm so sorry to your listeners because I'm bringing the bar way, way down for this. Like in a TV series, they have like 14 episodes and then they hit like episode 6 and it was written by some jackass as a filler episode. It's like, nobody's going to pay attention to this, but we promised the studio 14 and we got to give them 14. I'm your 6th episode. Like, I'm the filler episode. So it's all good.
Well, I will say I'm very excited to talk to you, and I'm very excited to talk to everyone I talk to, because I think I've been very lucky in the year and change that we've been doing this, and I don't quite know how I've managed to do that, but I think you, like me, know a lot of folks in the kind of who are deeply in the Leica world these days.
Okay,
which is a place, like people like Gadget, and like that's how I've gotten access to people like Phil and stuff like that. Like it's I'm very fortunate that a German camera brand seem to enjoy my company, and they keep saying to people like, yeah, he's all right, like it's fine. So
they are, without a doubt, the most welcoming community I've ever been involved with. I've never seen a camera brand do more for their art than Leica has. I just gotten back from the Leica 100 event in New York.
Yeah.
Man, that was really a revelation as far as like how much they do for the sake of photography. And it doesn't matter who you are or what your clique is or anything like that. We just want to share like the love of photography, and it was so much fun to be around.
Oh yeah, no, and it looked like it was a good do as well. It looked like everyone was there. Some big guy with his band was playing at the end of it. Like it seemed, it seemed like it was fun.
Yeah, it was a great time.
For people listening who maybe know your YouTube channel and things like that, like one of the things that struck me was there is a danger, because you and I think both love gadgety things. There is a danger that we will go down a kind of, or could go down a gadget route and could go down a video game route and do all sorts of things. So I'll try and stay reasonably focused. But there is a real danger.
It's your podcast. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I think I've built up a certain amount of trust around talking about certain things. And if I go too far off-piste, it's like a video game. I've got a choice to make right now. And if I choose to go down the wrong path. Because you have that kind of, I think like me, have come up through, you're interested in just about, everything's connected, right? You're interested in a lot of things. Like me, you've got a comic book cover on a poster behind you as well. Hulk, mine's Spidey.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, it's the Spider-Man with the Green Goblin. It's the one where is it the end of the Green Goblin kind of thing, which is a cool poster. I like that one.
That is cool.
But how did you land on image making and photography? And because you seem to be doing a bit more of that, you've just recently done your first kind of model shoot with like going in with a bit of a concept, and like, that seems like that was a bit of a ride. So talk me through like what put a camera in your hands first of all, because you've talked about starting a YouTube channel and like why you can do it later in life and why it's not like, we're both people in our 40s making things. Like, what put a camera in your hand first, I guess?
Yeah, it's not a big question, but there are a lot of things. There are a lot of aspects that go into it, and I'm going to get real vulnerable with you real quick, like right off the rip. So, I started YouTube not in this niche. I was a personal trainer for 20-ish years. Worked with like professional athletes. I was a professional athlete. I played professional beach volleyball. And I've always loved tech. So this is kind of the start, the gadgety part. I've always been a huge fan of tech. So the first YouTube channel was really like the intersection of tech and fitness. How can technology help somebody improve their health and fitness? And at the time, I had stopped playing volleyball. I had started this YouTube channel, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. And I was doing jujitsu. I'd been doing jujitsu for 4 or 5 years. And I picked up my first camera simply because I thought it would be kind of cool to take photos of my friends doing jujitsu. I didn't know anything about cameras. I had a lot of influences that made me want to pick up a camera initially. Friends that shot, they went to cool places, took photos. It's like, yeah, I'll get a camera and I'll start taking photos of my friends and I in jujitsu class. But what really kept me shooting, this is the vulnerable part. I have struggled with I'll just come out and say it, like depression, clinical depression, ever since I was a very small kid. Way too long for a human being to deal with it. And as I tried to describe to my wife the feelings I would feel or the things that I would hear, it's somebody inside of me constantly nudging me like an annoying 5-year-old tugging on your shirt going, you're a loser, you're a loser, you're a loser, you're a loser. And I would wake up to that. Like that would be the thing that wakes me up. For whatever reason, when I started taking photos, that was like my moment of silence. That would just turn off. And so it really became just a means to kind of quell that noise. And then eventually I started, like when me and my wife were dating at the time, we would like go on hikes and I would bring the camera with me. And that made me enjoy nature even more. And then pretty soon it was like, this thing was just on me 24/7. I don't go anywhere without it. I go to the grocery store with it. Yeah. So it's really become a part of me. Part of it is for the mental health side. Part of it is just to find, beauty in really cliche, dumb things that get overlooked every once in a while. And so yeah. And now it's evolved to a point where like I'm really into cinematography and lighting and gaffing, and I've always been a huge movie junkie and a cinema buff. And it's certainly something I wanted, like my channel, my fitness channel, I wanted it to stand out. Like I'm pretty insecure. And even though I did all these pretty epic things in the fitness industry and in my sport, I was insecure about it, and I didn't think the way I looked and my merits would have helped me stand out. And so I really gravitated to photography and cinematography to try to make the channel stand out. Right. And so I just I'm one of those people that obsess over things. Like I can get really good at things really quickly because I obsess and I outwork people. Right. And, that's what I did with photography and cinematography. I dove in, obsessed about it. And now like that's the channel. I've like stopped doing the fitness stuff and now everything is this, hey, come with me on this half-assed, half-brained journey of trying to get better at taking photos.
I love it. And I think thank you for like being willing to be just so direct and so honest about like what you went through. Because I think that's a big part of the problem is that oftentimes people feel like they're on their own and they're the only person feeling this way. And that,
Yeah, it's not a fun feeling. I tried to explain it to somebody as like, listen, it's not that how do I put it? It's just, I don't have a great way of putting it. It's just, I don't want to die. I just don't want to be me for the moment, if that makes sense. Like, and photography has really like made me go, no. Like you be you, because you like the photos you take are yours. Like nobody else can take that photo. Nobody else is seeing the image that's rattling around in your brain right now. It's up to you to go make it. And I find that really, really invigorating. And it really has, I think, quelled a lot of that noise down to where it's not consistent. It's not an everyday, all day thing. It happens like once or twice a week now. So, yeah. And any question you ask me, I'm going to be very upfront because my dad was a therapist and 40 years of being, psychologically checkmated. So I don't care at this point.
Yeah. There's very little point, I think, suppressing and quelling stuff. I had, not on the same level, but there is a tendency, especially I think as we age, and we have to deal with the fact that sometimes things aren't as easy as they used to be or whatever. This weekend just gone, I was in London and I was at the airport and I was on the way to the airport, and sometimes I get lightheaded and it's like it's a low blood pressure thing or, whatever. And normally I just power on through and I just go through and it's fine. On Sunday, that didn't work. And the next thing I knew, I woke up on the floor at the departure gate with people all around me and got rushed to a hospital and scanned and all the rest of it and stuff. So what you're saying there about self-care and kind of paying attention to the messages from your body and like doing it resonates, especially like 72 hours after that experience or whatever it is. Because that's a thing.
We'll chat after this as to like what's going on. Maybe.
Yeah. I think part of it, as the doctors kept saying to me the other day, part of it is you're in your mid-40s. Maybe sometimes sit down if you feel a bit lightheaded. Okay. But yeah, it was a whole thing. But no, that must be a blessing and a curse, having members of the family in the biz like that.
Yeah, for sure. I had a weird upbringing. Like when I tell people that my dad was going to school out of state, and so my mom, when I was like 8, she worked for SkyWest, which was like the local airline in the city that I grew up in, a very small town in southern Utah. She would take me up to the airport, stick me on a plane, because back then, like, it was just like, go. And there was no like security measures.
Yeah.
They'd stick me on a plane. I would fly to Vegas, and then a client of my dad's, not my dad, but one of his clients that he was like therapizing, would then pick me up and either take me to the college, UNLV, where I would find my dad and go to college with him, or I would go to work and just hang out with him. Because if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't see him.
Wow.
And we just always had like clients around the house helping. If they couldn't like pay, then they would do trade work. They would like work on the house or rebuild one of my dad's cars that was always busted. So yeah, it was interesting growing up with that. Yeah.
But I sort of like that because it keeps us it does keep a community together. Like provided that your folks have got the wherewithal to like only accept help from people who should be giving them help, but like in general, because I think we're in a fairly small rural community where we live in Scotland, and it's great in that sense that we all talk to one another a lot of the time, and the kids are in each other's back gardens and hanging out, and sort of we there are some local artists. Katrina, who I had on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, is local photographer and artist and doing a lot of stuff, and so there's that understanding that like a village can raise a child. I think if we when I lived in London, I didn't have that experience. Like we didn't really know our neighbours. We didn't really know a lot of people around us. So you're in your lane and you stay out the way. And, we were just good little consumers, just going through life. And I think that's kind of potentially a good thing if you can kind of be open to people, rather than sort of wary of it.
We were very lucky. I say we, like my family. We were very lucky that we grew up in a neighborhood where everybody hung out together. Yeah, like everybody was always at our house because we had the big yard. So kids were over playing like football or soccer. My mom loved to cook, so people would stay over and she would just cook this huge meal. It was a really good way to grow up for sure. I was very lucky.
Oh, amazing. Were there cameras around when you were a kid as well? Like
no.
Photos of the family? No? Wow.
Nope, there is no. I'm not trying to be conceited, but there was no creativity in my family. There was nobody was doing art. I was always the kid like sketching and stuff like that. But other than that, there was no photos, photography, camcorders, any of that stuff. Yeah,
that's really interesting. Do you think any of your creative? Because I grew up around fairly. They weren't that creative, but they were encouraging of my quote unquote like traditional creativity. So, pens and pencils and stuff were always in ready supply. And actually, my family, there was a lot of photography around. So it's not a surprise that I was picking up a camera because my dad, it's funny, we've just helped my grandmother move. She's now in a care home, but she's just left her house. She's 93. And we found in the process of clearing out her house, loads of folders and binders with pictures in, and negatives and stuff, and like so many old cameras. Like if you could get an advanced photo system camera to work in 2025, like we've got you. There was a 110, bunch of 35 mil, like it just everything was there. So I'd not really fully understood how much of my photographic life I think I probably was so heavily influenced by her, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna, like I said earlier, I'm trying to warn you and your audience. I'm so new to this. There's gonna be there. You're gonna go off on like a litany of technical gadget things, and I'm not gonna know any of them, and I apologize.
Yeah, don't worry. It's all
Okay.
old dead film formats.
Yeah.
But yeah, advanced photo system was fun though. She seemed to. It had this thing. It was 30. I think it was kind of 35 mil, but it was just small, slightly smaller edges. It was like in a special canister, and its magic trick I think was that it did panoramas, because
Ooh.
there are so many photo albums that are like a weird wide format. They look like they're like 21 by 9 or something.
They're a Samsung phone. Got it.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But you can't, I don't think you can get, I mean, you can go on eBay and find expired stock, but it expired like 30 years ago. And all the cameras were very automatic. They were really tiny. The canister was made smaller. You know, it was all an exercise in miniaturization.
Can I show you something real quick?
Yeah.
So the other day I was listening to one of your episodes, and I think it was with Allie.
Yeah.
And you guys you were talking about Polaroids.
Yeah.
So just one second. So this is my Polaroid, but what's super cool about this Polaroid is my friend Matthew O'Brien sent this to me, and it was dead stock. It had never been opened from 1984. So he sent me like a 40-year-old Polaroid that had never been opened, nothing. And I was like, oh, okay. So I drove to Vegas and everything works. Like I've been, anybody that comes over to the studio, I take a photo of them and put it on the wall. But yeah, so this is the only Polaroid I have, but it's super cool. I love it.
Yes.
And the fact that it's that old and works like a charm is amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of the best and worst thing about those vintage Polaroids was that the battery was in the film pack. So you can just, they still work, right? They're not like a lot of modern electronics where like the batteries are going to explode inside these things, or old iPods that you can't use anymore because the battery has just exploded or whatever. No, it's super cool. And it's funny, those old Polaroids from way back when, they still sometimes take a more consistent picture than some of the, because the newer one, like I've got the i2, which is like the super duper.
I heard you talking about
manual.
that. Yeah,
fabulous. I mean, it's really cool, especially now that they've made a few firmware updates to it, so it's better now than it's the exposure is more consistent than it was. But on the shelf behind me, I've got like an old 600 Sun series big box Polaroid, a bit like that one.
okay.
And it takes great photos. Like
That's awesome.
It's really consistent. It's got a stupid big flash and a silly plastic fantastic lens, so everything's like really contrasty and really saturated, and it's just awesome. And people love people love having a Polaroid picture taken, don't they? They behave differently.
I think so. I think it just makes you go, this is fun.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to put on a facade. I don't have to. This isn't serious. Like it's throwaway, goes in a binder type of thing. You know.
It's low stakes. No, it's really fun.
Yeah, very low stakes is a great way to put it. Yeah.
On the subject of low stakes and fun photography, because you may have thoughts and feelings on this, we are talking on the day, I mean, this will go out in a few weeks, but we're talking on the day when the Fuji X-Half has just been announced.
I just
on the subject of fun, right?
I've owned quite a few Fujis, and Fuji has always been fun for me. There's only one Fuji that I shot with that I was like, this is not fun. I don't like this Fuji at all. And it's actually their flagship. I thought that camera was pretty lifeless, and I've been talked to numerous times when I made that statement. But I mean, I had an X100V. That was that wasn't my first Fuji, but that camera was super fun. I've had two XT3s, an XT30, a XS10, and The only thing I don't get is the price, considering like you could get an XM5 for I think like $50 more. But the way Fuji thinks about their cameras and their audience is very different than like what we're seeing from so many other brands like Sony, Canon, Nikon, that sort of thing. But it's interesting. This little half frame, I like that you just like flip through the film simulations on the side. I haven't had much exposure to that camera. I just saw a few brief things. I've been doing like dad errand stuff all morning.
Sure.
But I love that you can flip through the film simulations on the back. It looks super fun. Like I said, the price doesn't make any sense to me, but I bet you people just getting into photography, like that's going to be such a fun camera for them.
It's funny because I have, as you know from listening, probably I have a one camera rule, but that's the kind of camera where I could break.
It blows
my
my mind.
Well, I'm trying. I mean, but I look at something like that, and because it's so specific, one could justify like having another one because it's a totally different thing.
Slippery slope, buddy. Slippery slope. Talking like that.
Is this Brandon's going to help me stage? He's going to stage an intervention. I didn't let him do it. Like he was talking himself.
I
into
can't
it.
be the guest that talks you into something. I would feel horrible.
Well, I don't know. I met when I was at London Photo London at the weekend. I met someone actually. Someone overheard me in a room and came up and said they listened to the podcast, which was very nice and very
cool.
unexpected, but super cool. But yeah, I think people would be okay with it. You know, if I occasionally, but it would have to be for the right reason. It's instant cameras have been my way out up until now.
Just like I said about your podcast, this is also your life. You can do whatever you want, sir.
Yeah, I don't want to paint myself into a corner. No, I do like the idea of that half frame. I think that's a neat, clever trick that they've done. Have you? Do you ever mess about with film very much at all? Because that Pentax half frame has been wildly popular as well.
Film is just not in the crosshairs at the moment.
No,
I keep getting exposed to it, no pun intended. I was just with a few photographers. Have you ever heard of a guy named Portrait Poppy?
Yes.
So Jacob is here in Utah, and the first time I met him was in New York at that Leica event. And then we recently met up during like a little Photo X conference at our local camera store. And we were talking about film. And then a buddy of mine that I met also in New York, he was taking, he was doing all of his photo walks on film. And he just sent me some of those photos that he had taken of me. I've never like seen myself on film.
Right.
And it's like, wow, there really is kind of this like character to it. There's something about it that I can't quantify, and I certainly can't like elaborate on what it is that's going on. But it's one of those things where I'm like, listen, I take too many photos, I suck too bad. There's no way I'm gonna like spend $50 a roll right now to be really bad at something. Like, let me get within the realm of decency before I go and challenge myself with film. I had made the decision to do film actually not too long ago. I had bought this crazy camera. I don't know if you remember the old Hasselblad H6D 100C.
Yep.
So I bought that camera, and one of the reasons I bought it was if I wanted to, you could swap out and put a film back on there, right?
Yeah.
Like the big film back. And I thought, hey, if I'm going to shoot film, I'd rather shoot like big, medium format, glorious film. And then I ended up returning it. So that was kind of like me going, it's not quite time.
On a similar kick to give you ideas for future topics that you might want to cover. And this would be a labor of love to get hold of one.
Yeah.
But back in the day, Leica released digital backs for some of their film cameras. So so they were like 10 megapixel digital backs. I think it was for the R series of cameras. They're quite hard to find.
Okay.
But if you were, you're in the club now, along with a bunch of us. I'm sure you can find someone.
I mean, like I know two people that are literal encyclopedias when it comes to everything Leica made. I don't know if you know who Decrypto is, aka Kevin Fickling.
Yes.
I'll text Kevin and be like, Kevin, what the hell is he talking about? And he'll know.
I would say there's a not 0% chance Kevin has one or has been thinking about it, right? Because the R series, I mean, the lenses are amazing to play with. I think you'd love the R lenses. There's 100 macro. Yeah, that 100 macro R lens is very good. But the more just for the peculiarity of this 10 megapixel back that they made, that you can play with film and digital side by side. Then
it's so
could
cool.
Test the same rig.
I love novelty. I've always gravitated to novel things. Like the clothing brand that I'm really into makes clothes out of the weirdest materials, and I love it. And anytime I can kind of like franken rig a camera together to try something unique, I'm all for it. I actually just, not to go off on a weird side tangent, but I've been doing photography now, I want to say for like 5 years, maybe a little bit longer. And I say photography, I mean, like, I have a camera, I took a photo. I've figured out what I want to do for my first photo project, and I'm actually using that to do it on, which is a cinema camera, not even an actual camera. So I'm gonna be doing a series of infrared black and white photography using that camera, because it'll shoot infrared black and white.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's like a 20-pound monstrous. It is the Red Monstro cinema camera, but yeah, I'm gonna take it around like central Utah and a few other places and do a bunch of anamorphic shots. So some like really wide CinemaScope, infrared black and whites.
Oh wow! What prompted that?
Well, I love black and white. I love black and white, and a little over a year ago, I got the really cool opportunity to use a 1-of-1 full spectrum converted Red Raptor,
right?
And for the purpose of doing black and white, and I loved it. And I've just been thinking, like, how on earth do I do this again without spending $40,000?
Yes,
and that might actually be underselling how much that camera costs with the full conversion. But the cool thing about these DSMC2 cameras is that they had a removable OLPF. And if you remove it and replace it with Kipper Ties infrared, well, you can do the same thing, and now you're not spending $40,000. So and I've shot a couple of like anamorphic panoramics, and I love it. And I'm like, that's what you should be doing. You should take that thing, go do some infrared black and white, and like turn it into a series of prints. So
wow,
it's gonna be fun. Very, very novel. Very like, why don't you just grab like an older camera and convert it? Nah, I like that. I'm gonna use that thing.
Yeah. Well, I think find the tools that work for you. Importantly, and at the weekend I saw a photographer who I'm hopefully going to get onto the show in the future. There's a French photographer called David Debayer, and he photographed landscapes, and he's done it with medium format. You will love this. So he found a book of Spanish UFO sightings, like it was reported in the military. I know, it's great, isn't it? And he's gone to the locations. He's gone to the locations where the UFO sightings were reported to do big medium format film photos. And then what he's done, he's taken photos, but he didn't put the camera on a tripod and pan across. And this is why it's kind of similar to your anamorphic thing. He's done portrait photos and then put them together side by side in like sets of 2 or 4. And then what he does, he in order to get the picture, he didn't pan the camera, he moved it sideways. So he had a rig set up so he could, and what that means is when you then look at this picture and the print is like 5 feet tall on a wall, as you walk past it, the perspective stays like it would be if you were there and you were walking along, rather than it pivoting from. I know, it's great, isn't it? The level of thought that's gone into it, it's wild. And then what he's done is he's scored onto the negative afterwards the flight path that was reported.
That's cool.
And then made the prints. And I was like, oh, that's because it looked like a pencil line or something. And the guy who I spoke to, he wasn't there, unfortunately, but the guy I spoke to was the an agent or curator or something in this gallery. And he was like, no, he scored it in with with a knife. To damage the negative. So it's a choice that he made as well. Super cool. I think you'd really like his work.
That's really that's a level of commitment I don't think I have, but I love it.
But you're doing something really interesting and similar, because a lot of people listening to this right now will be like, yeah, I wouldn't buy a camera and then take out filters and futz with it, and so I think you're just using a different medium. That's why it's so exciting what you're doing,
It's there are some actual like pros of using that as opposed to like a normal camera to do it. It's plenty high res because it's 8K, but it's also red, so you could like the R3D codec you can manipulate into like any sort of deliverable that you want, and it plays very easily in Photoshop. You can do everything on it, but yeah, and it's a massive sensor, so it's a VistaVision sensor. So you can put some like 2x anamorphics on there and get an insanely wide shot. And like, even though anamorphics aren't that great for landscape photography, it allows me to use maybe a tighter focal length, like a 50 or an 85, but still get that 40 millimeter wide look, which is kind of fun. And if you stop it down with like the infrared stuff, you really do kind of have to shoot in high noon. You want like the worst light to give you the best light. And if you stop it down to like an f8, they look fine. So we'll see. Yeah. I mean, this is stuff that's in my head and I have to get it out or I'm going to have an actual like anxiety attack. I don't expect anybody to like it, but I have to do it or I'm going to go crazy.
But this is great, and what's wonderful is this is entirely consistent, right, with your video as well, encouraging other people to make stuff. And I would say is because it chimes with my worldview of, if you think of something, then you should just find a way to make it if you can. Like don't make yourself destitute in the process, but like find a way to make it, because if you like it, chances are there are other people out there who will find it interesting and like it too.
I think I was thinking about this the other day, and like, obviously I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and this is my photo project. This isn't anybody else's photo project. I'm not making it for anybody else, but I feel very deeply like I've seen these images in my head very distinctly. Very, very rarely do I get something so clear, like in my mind's eye, of what I want to shoot. I actually had a talk with Gadget a long time ago about the two types of photographers, and it's the photographer that sees the photo and they can make the photo, and then there's the photographer that finds the photo in the edit, and I'm definitely that guy. I have no idea what I'm doing, but somehow I can manage my way around Lightroom Mobile. This is one of the very few times where I've seen something so clearly, and I figure if it's that clear, there's a reason it's in there. Like, and if I don't capitalize on it, somebody else will at some point, and I'll be like, gosh, dang it, that was my photo. And I know that sounds very pretentious, but yeah, I definitely feel like, hey, something put that image up in my brain, and it's up to me to get it out. And I got to get it out really quick, or it just goes to waste.
Yeah. Do you have in mind a kind of destination for it as well? Like, are you thinking big print on walls? Are you thinking book? What are you thinking?
So I would love to do a book at some point, but I gotta baby step here. Like, I've never done any sort of printed work. I've never. Right. We were talking the other day about Daniel Milner.
Yeah.
I I love and hate that guy, but his consistency and how he feels about the work of a professional, I resonate with. He would probably very much dislike me because of the way I'm always producing my quote unquote work. But this year, at the start of the year, I made a video that just said, I'm not a photographer yet. And in order for me to consider myself a photographer, I need to do three things. And one of those things was print. I need to start printing my work. I need to get it out there. If for nothing else other than for me to hold it and be like, I did this, you know? So the goal is to get a printer. I think I would really enjoy the process of learning how prints react on certain kinds of paper. Like that entire process, I'm really eager to learn. My bank account, probably not so much, because I know I'm just going to like Hail Mary the crap out of that thing and get the biggest printer I possibly can and the coolest papers and like hand stamp each one. But yeah, that's, it blows my mind when somebody hits me up and was like, dude, could I get a print of this? That floors me that anybody would want to hang something of mine. And so if I'm going to do it, I want it to just be the coolest thing they've ever had. And so that's kind of like the ultimate idea. But I don't know how well received infrared black and white landscapes are.
Well, you don't see a lot of them. So I suspect for sort of novelty, if nothing else, it sounds like you're going to get super cool images to play with, you know?
I'll probably have 2 friends and a family member purchase them out of pity, and then I'll move on.
That doesn't sound terrible. And I think you'll probably also be more successful than you're imagining. I think setting the bar, it's a bit like when I started the podcast and I just wanted to make 10 episodes and for 10 people to listen. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be likely episode, I don't know, 68 or something.
That's
so
insane.
Like these things happen. They just happens over time.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever saw it. Me and a friend started a podcast called 16 Stops. And there's actually a number, and it's 6 episodes. And basically, if you can get through 6 episodes, like you're good to go. You will probably continue it for a very long time. But most people fail before 6. So you're way past that, buddy. Nice job.
Yeah, thanks. Well, it was it's all partly down to someone I know who's a friend in common with Dan. Is a guy called Julian Pasternak who makes a podcast. He's French, and he makes a French language podcast, which I don't listen to every week because I don't speak enough French. But Dan was on, and he did an episode in English, and I discovered him through that. And then he agreed to come onto my show, and he made me promise to do at least 20 for that exact reason. I
think I remember you talking about that. Yeah, good work.
He's good. I probably at least owe him a beer for getting me this far.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I know the whole everybody and their dog has a podcast, but I haven't. I'm gonna be straight up honest with you. I haven't listened to all of them, but I have enjoyed thoroughly the conversations that I heard with Daniel. Milner is such an interesting character. I listened to the one with Ali O'Keefe, and I think she's a riot. Probably my favorite one, though, even though I haven't finished it, is Sean Tucker. That I really liked Sean's, and Gadgen's is queued up because he's a friend. Obviously, I'm going to listen to that. Oh, and I listened to Dave Herring's a long time ago, and Dave's a super cool dude. So I think you're crushing it.
Oh. Thank you. Yeah, I've been very lucky with the folks that I've spoken to that they've all been game. Sean was really good fun, I will say, because he didn't want to talk about gear. We have a friend in common, and so Simon helped put me in touch. And actually, Simon, similar to you in a way, found some therapy for himself in photography. His was physical. He couldn't sit at a desk anymore. He was a web developer, and he had a mountain biking accident. And so he needed to be moving, and he realized that when he was walking in the woods was when he wasn't in pain, and that having a camera with him gave him something to do that kept him out for longer. So he did more of that stuff. And now he's a woodland photographer.
Dude,
Simon
so
Baxter
good.
has a YouTube channel as well. Yeah.
What's Simon's channel, or what's his last name?
Simon Baxter, and his dog Meg.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. And I did a photo workshop with him years ago with my stepdad. It was for my stepdad's birthday as a surprise.
Oh, cool.
And it was right when Simon was on the rise. So it was probably sort of 2020, 2021, something like that. And so he was like peak YouTube famous at the time. And I remember we arrived, and my stepdad, I'd given him homework to watch some of Simon's videos. I was like, you have one job before we get there. and Simon was used to sort of meeting people who know who he is. And Chris, my stepdad, just like, not that he needed grounding, but definitely grounded him in a kind of like, you know, I have no idea who you are. Let's see if you know what this camera is. And Simon was just like, I've never had anyone on the course who doesn't know who I am.
I think that's awesome. I'm actually gonna.
It was good.
So, I told you that I was a personal trainer. Well, when I was living in California and I was playing professional volleyball, I was training athletes at the same time, and I was usually the one that was kind of given the pro athletes. And one of the reasons was I just always humbled them. I made fun of them. I like challenged them to a bunch of stuff, talked trash to them.
Yeah.
And when you get to a certain point of quote unquote fame, you can't have normal relationships. You're always questioning new people, like, what do they want from me? That sort of thing. And so, the best thing, I actually want to make a video like how to not be weird around YouTubers. And it's like, just don't ask things from them. Like, don't expect them to do things for you, you know? So I love it. Your stepdad's like, who are you? Why are you important? No.
So you've got your landscape project lined up. Do you find that, like, you mentioned that project came to you kind of very full formed, almost like, you know, it's you can see it. Do you tend to run a bunch of little personal projects and things like that become videos, or how do you kind of approach? Because you do you like ideas just flow through you?
There's always way too many ideas that are bouncing around up in this empty skull cave. But that's the difficulty with my brain, is like trying to like funnel all of those ideas into like a throughput, an actual like focused thing. There's been a few times where I'm like, no, that's a really good idea. I have the time. Let's go and capitalize on it. And I think the more I watch from my fellow YouTubers, the more I get distracted. And it's like, oh, that's a really good idea. I mean, the more you're on social media, the more you see that you're not doing, if anything.
Yeah.
And then you get so caught up in like, oh man, I'm not making prints. I don't have a website. I don't have this. I don't have that. I'm not shooting this. Like, and so I really have to go, well, what would make me happy? What's the thing that's going to make you happy, Brandon? Not the audience, but like, what's the video that you would want to watch? And I'm very, very fortunate that I have enough things that I can make anything I want. And so it really comes down to just go make the thing. And sometimes they fall flat. Like sometimes they're not great concepts. Sometimes they're those filler episodes. But other times you're like, no, this is a really cool thing. Let's devote the time and go make it. But that's the only like long-term project that I have. And that's not going to be like a quick turnover for the sake of a video. I think it's going to take me a really long time. There are 3 shots in particular that I want, and I think we've passed the season for one of those, because infrared, whenever you're doing landscape, looks so much better when you have clouds and stuff like that. Like it doesn't look great with a bright blue sky. It's pretty boring. And so some of that is going to be like seasonally predetermined. But I also want to do the other long-term project is a photo book. I envision this as a book for jiu-jitsu people. If you ever get to be around a group of jiu-jitsu athletes, they are just the most caveman-looking people. Like their entire lives are just spent getting their faces smashed in. And their bodies like change in weird ways. Like my knuckles, you can't really see it, but like all of the years of gripping a gi and people like popping your grips off, like your knuckles tend to like grow. They get like just gross looking. And maybe I'll send you a photo of like somebody's like the meows. But I would love to do a set of portraits and title the book "The Body of Work," because they're they're a body of work. I don't know, a clever play on words. But I would love to take photos of some of the more, I I don't want to say famous, but notable people in the jiu-jitsu community that you would recognize literally from a knuckle or an ear. Like you see their ear and
Right.
you're like, I know who that is. And so I'd love to do some of that stuff. Recently, I saw a photographer named Christy Noam. She's a nature photographer for Nikon. And she did a lot of, she would shoot the zebra, but she would shoot the zebra's like rear end or an elephant's like a weird part of the elephant. It wouldn't be the face and the tusks. Like, I was like, that's really cool. I like that idea of like just not faces, you know?
Yeah.
In this book. So I would love to put something together like that. I would do it all in black and white. I pretty much only shoot jujitsu in black and white. And so yeah, that's the only other long-term like photo project I have.
That's super cool. I really like the idea of that. Like that I would read the crap out of that. It's very
But
cool.
that I think that would be a fun little like coffee book type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have like a coffee book habit yourself? Often photographers, if you either have one or you're developing a habit.
I'm starting there. Well, actually, it was Milner again. Listening to him, like I said, I respect the hell out of what he thinks good work is and how to get good at good work. And the one thing being an athlete taught me is like how to practice, how to get good. Like there are individual skills that you have to hone, and a part of that is doing your history, studying the greats, but then also emulating. How can I recreate this? Because if I can, then I have like technical mastery over like the medium that I'm trying to use, and then I can then tweak that to fit my personality and my taste.
Yeah.
And so I am now starting to buy books and do a little bit more on the study side of what makes a great photo and a great, photographer. And so, let's see. These are the two that I have right now. And you've probably seen one of these. And the other one is actually a guy that heavily influenced me to pick up a camera. So this first one is the Dune book.
Yeah.
So this is the set photography from Dune. And what's so cool about it is like all of it is done by the actual cinematographer. So Greg Fraser, while trying to film the second movie, I guess Denis asked him like, "Hey, can you do the set photography?" And he was like, "You want me to do both?" And he did. And he is a phenomenal photographer.
Yeah.
Like some of the portraits in this are just
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. And then Josh Brolin did all of the written accompaniment to it.
Yeah.
And I love the way Josh writes. Oh, there he is right there. And then this book is by a local guy here in Utah named Mark Twite. Mark influenced my life in a few ways. So Mark used to own a private gym here in Utah that got kind of famous, and it was called Jim Jones. And as I just started working out and starting that fitness journey, I found jimjones.com. And it was a single page, black and white, that basically told you to F off. It was like, don't email us, we won't email you back. Don't call us, we won't call you back, we won't answer. It's an invite only type of thing. Right. There is something so appealing to their branding, which was black and white, gritty, don't bother us. Yeah. And Mark came from an extensive history in being an alpinist. So, and he was like one of the best, but he's also a fantastic photographer. And then he went on to train Jason Momoa. Oh, so wow. Jim Jones were the guys that trained the 300 for the movie.
Yep.
The 300 movie, and then Justice League. And so, so Mark is like a good friends of Jason Momoa and Zack Snyder, and his photography was all black and white and like just really cool. There's Zack like training. But so Mark has kind of had this like dual influence on me. He kind of influenced the way that I wanted to train, and he also influenced my love of black and white photography. And so these are like the two books that I'll I'll peruse every once in a while. I peruse Dune for
Yeah.
some really good like moody portrait stuff, and then black and white grungy Mark's really good at.
I wonder if his kind of style of photography influenced. Was it McGee who directed 300 and the Batman movie, the Justice League movie?
That was Snyder.
Snyder, sorry, yes, because it was Snyder who had a monochrome M and shot those amazing shots of Ben Affleck as Batman, wasn't it? In front of the Batmobile.
Yeah,
They were incredible shots.
Yeah, and I know Snyder's a big red guy, and that's one cool thing about red is that they'll make you whatever you want if you have the money. And so they've done like monochrome versions of everything. But I don't know what kind of influence Twite had over Snyder or Snyder over Twite, but I love that book. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And I love the outdoors. I love the mountains, and so it's pretty awesome.
Oh, that's really good. I'm really excited to see your black and white project now knowing what you're kind of feeding your brain with, right? Like what you know,
we'll
this
see.
is really
We'll see.
When you're shooting, like you mentioned, you take your camera to the shops. I do that too. Like even just walking the kids to school, which is like a 5-minute walk back and forth. I take my M everywhere with me.
Yep.
What do you take around? Because you've had Qs, you've had Ms, you've had all sorts of things. What's your daily driver at the minute?
Just whatever feels. I don't know how to put it that way. It's typically an M, just because that's kind of like my favorite way to shoot. Sometimes it's dictated by like where I'm going and how fast I have to be. I'm not very good at the M. I've had it for, I want to say like 8 months, and I'm just not as quick as other people. Right. And so if I feel like I'm not going to have the time to set up a shot, then I'll grab the Q, because it's a brilliant camera anyway. But like yesterday, I took the M to the grocery store. It's just on me, but I was just fascinated by all the different colors in the condiment section, and I was like, yeah, click. Some lady was walking by with a shopping cart, looking at me like, what the hell? I'm like, I don't even know what to tell you. Like, there's no excuse that I could give you that makes this sound normal.
No, I love spice racks, and I always,
okay.
Yeah. It's funny. 2 years ago, so I used the journaling app Day One to save all of these photos, to kind of keep stuff, and I go back and look at what happened like on this day in history.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
2 years ago today was when I sent my GR3 off to pay for a 50mm lens for my M, and it was like the move to the M was complete at that point.
Yep.
I'd got rid, and I'd made the commitment.
I'm sure you heard about the GR4 announcement then?
I was just going to say, yeah, so it's funny because the timing is such that, that GR4, that little camera was amazing. That GR3 was just tremendous. I loved it. I loved shooting that thing.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't have sold it really, but it helped me pay for a Summicron 50.
Nice. I think you came out okay, buddy.
Yeah. I run around rocking a lot of people's dream camera. I'm probably fine.
Yeah, isn't that every once in a while it hits me, because I'm pretty carefree with my stuff. I try not to, like, as much as I love those cameras and they mean so much to me, not just because of the price tag that went with them. Like, I want other people to experience them, because I don't know, I think YouTube can be this weird vacuum where you see so many people with the high-end gear and you think that's like all there is. And then you have to realize, like, no, if you go to a national park, 99% of these people are going to be on like, Canon T2i Rebel with like a kit lens. Like, you really are so insanely fortunate to have a Leica, even if it was like an M8, like, you're just so insanely fortunate. So I really tried to just be like, here you go, like, try it out. But it does hit me every once in a while. It's like, dude, this is a car to somebody. So please be grateful and keep yourself in perspective.
Yes. Yeah, no, 1,000%. And like you, like, I try and encourage, if people at work and stuff express interest in photography, I go, well, have a go with mine and try it. What they like, because they might just be interested and want to know what's out there, and I just try not to talk about money. Explain that I murdered someone to pay for it. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's how we all. That's how we all bought our first Leicas, right?
Yes.
You know.
I murdered somebody.
Yeah.
Well, I'm an assassin.
No other camera brand has a website you can go to where you can carry out a hit for someone, and then that's how you buy your first camera. It's a unique way of paying for the cameras. It's like John Wick. You go to the hotel.
We have just created a weird, like, sweet series on HBO Max.
Yeah, starring Ben Affleck. It's cool.
If there's a writer out there, let's get this thing rolling.
I just want an exec producer credit. I won't get in the way.
It's fine. I think executive producers are just the money. So do you have the money to produce this?
I think I spent it all on the camera.
Yours, okay, then your camera will be the one in the shots. Executive producer credit. Done.
Yeah. That feels good. That feels like that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's cool. Well, I think you've shared some lovely projects and some really cool ideas. I think that this is another great one in the can. I'm going to put it out there, Brandon. I think we've had fun. We may have smashed
for sure. This is the best time.
For people listening who don't know Brandon, and they should, where can they go to find out more about you and what you're making, and stay tuned for the panoramic shots?
The best place to find me right now is YouTube and Instagram. So YouTube it used to be Caffeinated Cameras, but I had too many friends get mad at me that it wasn't my name. So now it's been changed to my name, Brandon Talbot. And then Instagram, it's the same thing. So Instagram is a much more, I can't, to my fault, I can't like follow like a branding, right? Like there's no straight line for me. I enjoy way too many things to like keep my feed a very consistent look. It's all over the place. So you're going to see lots of photos of my dog, my wife, random shiz all over the place. YouTube's more consistent. So lots of videos on photography and videography and the tech that I use to try to make it look not so crappy all the time.
I really like your Instagram for what it's worth. I think it's super cool.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I have fun with it. I mean, like, what's the point if you're not having fun? So
it's definitely all about having fun. That's why I've started writing on paper again. It's why I'm using Polaroid so much. Like,
yep,
it's
the
got
journals.
To be fun. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh, it's just. I mean, this would be nice for the audio people. Like the paper, just like it's lovely.
I don't know why the guy gets so much hate, but Peter McKinnon did a video just barely on like why he writes letters, and I was like, dude, this is so great. I can't afford to do it because I can't afford to be obsessed about yet another thing taking over my life. But I loved that video, and I very much would at some point love to have my own stationery and to write people notes. It's just I'm at that stage in my life right now where it's like 12 to 15 hour days, and it's gonna be for another 6 months, I think. But maybe after that, then I can get into typewriters and stationery and things like that.
Yeah, Pete's earned it at this point. I don't get the hate on him either. I really love his videos, and I really love the one where I've mentioned it a lot on the podcast, but when he shot Kiefer Sutherland.
Yes.
The excitement, just the pure joy and excitement on that man's face to get to do that project and to get to do it with his friend and to support his, just so good. The world needs more of that.
I love it when you can see it's like, oh, this guy he's just as nerdy and excitable as the rest of us.
Yes.
And exactly. I have a friend, and I'm not gonna mention him, but he's as big as you can possibly be in that space, in the cinematography space. And he nerds out more than anybody. He follows everybody. And every once in a while, one of the reasons I love him is as big as he is and as much as he's done, he still geeks out. And it's so cool to be like, oh, you're a totally normal human being that loves cameras and movies just as much as the next person.
Stay hungry and foolish.
Yeah.
That's the aim. Yeah. Amateurs for life.
Amen.
Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for taking some time, because I know you've got a big streaming day ahead of you.
No, we're good. Are we ever
so-
going to talk about lenses?
Yeah. Well, so sometimes I don't. Sometimes we don't get there. But yeah, we can put some
dude,
on. Let's do some lenses. If you had some
I do.
prepared.
They're actually all right here. So
They're right here. We didn't even do. Okay, yes. Let's cover some lenses, and then we'll let you get out.
No, like I really am good on time. I didn't want to make it seem like I'm like, so this is a big part of my day. Like I've allotted enough time that you have lots. One of the rules in shooting is overshoot. For like video, overshoot. Okay.
Yes.
So we're gonna over podcast,
yeah.
and then you can cut it down if you want.
Let's over podcast. Yeah. That's cool.
My
What did you bring?
My first lens is kind of a funny one. So all of these I chose based on not just the merit of the image quality the lens produces, but also how they're kind of tied in with a, dare I say, an evolution of my photography. They're all like an era, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So the first one, which is kind of a cop-out because it's an entire camera, it is the Q2. So it's the 28 Summilux. This lens is one of the best lenses Leica has ever made. But the reason that I love it so much is it's the first time that I stuck with a lens for so long, where I got intimately aware of what it was good at and what it wasn't good at. And I think in that process, I discovered that this is one of my favorite ways to take somebody's portrait, which is so different than what you hear so often. Like it's a 50, an 85, a 135, a 105. No, this 28 has given me some of my favorite portraits ever. And then the lens just, by itself is just absolutely spectacular. So this lens, this was like the only photo camera I had for a good long while. And that's when photography became less of a hobby. And it's like, no, I want to make something worth printing on. I really want to take this more seriously. And I know that's dumb that a piece of gear did that, but listen, it did that for me. I don't care. Yeah. So this lens right here is just magic. And even though it's a Q2, it's not the Q3, and it's beat to hell. It's a ghost edition, which is fun for me. It's special. There's no way I would sell this. This was my first Leica too, so I'm like, this will never part me. And then this big behemoth. And this is the Leica 24-90. And I've never been a zoom guy. And according to the internet, the middle finger to any sort of variable aperture zoom, oh hell no. But that's what this is. And again, talking to Gadget before I ordered this, he was like, that lens has some sauce. Like there is some special sauce to it. And there is. Like the optical quality that comes out of this lens is absolutely magical. And it is kind of the first time a lens has made me reconsider the rhetoric of like a variable aperture zoom is not as good as a constant. Like this thing is absolutely bananas. But the reason that I love this lens so much is it's also the same point in time where I kind of discovered it's already set up for it. You can't really see it. But on the SL system, they have the 3x1, which is like Leica's X-Pan, essentially, right? So it's a 3x1. I think I told you earlier that I love movies. I love going to movies. I don't see photos as like the normal 3x2 aspect. Every photo I see I see photos more as like frames in a movie than I do photos. And so this lens is pretty much glued to this camera because I just see this is like my favorite way to shoot is in this 3x1 crop. And it got me into landscapes, like all of the best landscape photos that I've taken, whether it's just the landscape or I shoot a lot of, that sounds bad. I take photos of bison a lot. We have a lot of bison around here. And some of my favorite photos have been of bison. And it's always been in this kind of like X-pan crop. So this is the combo. And then 24 to 90 is just, it's got that little extra reach. I don't know. It's a stabilized lens. This combo is, I mean, if you had to punch a car, like this is the camera I would do it with. You could drive over this thing and it would be fine. Like the lens is an absolute tank. It weighs as much as a baby.
It's amazing they don't put that on the box. You know?
It is super unwieldy, but yeah, I like, I don't know. People look at it and you're like, you want $6,000 for a zoom lens? And granted, I got mine for half of that used, but yeah, it's magical. It's just a magical lens. I don't know what to, have you ever used it? It's a weird system. I'm not going to lie. At many times, I'm like, this doesn't really make sense. Like the SL, considering the Q, and they just kind of like fall short in so many ways when you compare them to other cameras like this. Now, that being said, like my SL2S is an absolute workhorse. I use it for everything, and I love this camera. But if you're like, why wouldn't I just get like a Canon R5 II or something? And I would argue for that lens right there.
But I think you also, if you need to rely on something for your work, you can't be taking chances with, if you've got something that you know is robust and works. And I trust Gadget's judgment. I mean, I'm gonna see him in June in Wetzlar in Germany. There's a good chance he will throw something like that in my hands to try at some point.
I'm gonna text him and make sure he does.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I look forward to it.
He definitely sold me on that lens, and because of that lens, I really want they also make a 90 to 280, which is, I've heard, even better. So we'll see. And then the last one is this one. And this is the Voigtlander 50mm f2 Apo.
Oh, lovely. Yes, the Apo is that's my super fan of the show. Tom, big fan of that lens. Is always sending me pictures taken with that Apo. It's unreasonably good, that lens.
It doesn't make any sense. I have a photo this is the first lens that I got for my M11P. So I had bought the SL3 and had an issue with it and had to set it in, and that issue didn't get fixed. And so they swapped me out with another one, and that camera had the same issue. And that happened one more time. And finally, Leica, it wasn't a great experience, and it wasn't Leica HQ's fault. But Leica HQ found out about it, and they basically said, listen, we'll trade you straight up. If you want to trade in your SL3, we'll give you an M11P, which was really scary. I'd never shot on a rangefinder. I'm like, do I really want to? And so I got the M11P, and this was the first lens that like went on it. It was the only lens, my only M lens. But right before that happened, when I got the SL3, I did a safari in South Africa. And this lens shot a lot of that, which is, I mean, traditionally you wouldn't use a tiny little prime, but I put this on the SL3, and at one point in time, I came face to face with like a ring-tailed lemur, like right up in my face, and this shot that, and the character and the clarity that comes out of this lens is just, it's special. It's a special lens. And yeah, some of my favorite photos that I've gotten of my family and like some of the work that I've done have all come off this lens. And so, I mean, this pretty much is just glued to the M. This is, I think now if 3x1 is the crop that I see things in, that X-Pan movie frame, it's at a 50 focal length. Like that's how I'm seeing things composed. And it's definitely because of this lens. Yeah. It's so good. If you haven't gotten to try it, man, like it's so much fun. There's like, Normally APOs, I've played with a few other APOs since having this lens, and they're all like crystal clear and sharp and detailed, but sometimes they lack character. You know, they're so surgical that they're a little on the stale side, and this one's fun. Like, there's a little bit of vignetting and a little bit of swirly, and yeah, it's a super fun lens. And the build quality is unreal. I think you can get these used now for like around $700 or $800, which is kind of a steal. But crazy smooth focus, and the aperture is really fun and clicky. If you're a tactile person like I am, we didn't talk about this, but like that GFX that I mentioned, the GFX 100 Mark II, I took 2 photos with it, and I was like, no. And it's because like that shutter sounded like a mouse coughing. It was like, I'm like, oh, that's gross. No. I want something to like kick. Like, I need some feedback. And so that's why I love this lens. I could like just play with this lens. I have been for the last 5 minutes since we started talking about it. That's just like, I can't like, but I just love that tactical response.
But you see, this is what I was hoping for when I started the show, because when you talk to people, you get that kind of response sometimes from them where they're using something. And I know the gear doesn't matter, and it's not about the gear and. But if you enjoy it, and if you find a tool that you enjoy using and you're excited about it, then also the chances are you'll go and pick up and use it more, and you'll also make more interesting and more fun work with it, because you'll experiment and you'll play because you like it. And it's like, it does matter.
It does. Like, sometimes I love raccoons. I think they're hilarious little creatures, but they do all their sensory stuff through their hands, and I'm a raccoon. So I like when I walk by clothes and I'll just feel them. I won't look at the price tag. I'll just like feel them and be like, oh, I really like that. But the same thing with the camera, whether that's the weight or the sound of the shutter and the way I can feel the shutter through the camera, how the focus throw is, these apertures, like, that's the stuff that matters. And when I pick up a camera and walk around with it, I'm like a kid with a fidget spinner. I'm just playing with it. Like, I'll turn the dial on and off, and I'll just do that. That's fun for me.
Yeah.
And there are so many cameras that I've passed up on that are good cameras, but there's none of that life there.
Yes.
And it's not to say that those don't have life for somebody else, and they're not going to be that camera for somebody else. They're just not going to be that camera for me.
Yes.
And that's important to me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I agree. I completely agree. If you love the tools that you use, man, it's all about that. Oh, brilliant. Well, that is great. What a great selection.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I know it can be kind of snobbish because it's all Leica stuff, but one part is the lens, but the other part is like what it did for my photography.
Yes, exactly.
So,
yeah.
Like, if I can give you like an honorable mention, this is not a Leica lens. It's a very cheap knockoff of the Leica's most expensive lens.
Yes.
It's a TT Artisan 50mm 0.95.
Yes.
I'm having a hoot with it because there's no way on God's green earth I'm ever going to have like a real knock lens.
No.
But this is one of those things where it's like, no, I'm totally okay buying a third party. Like, it's super fun.
Yeah.
If the build quality is amazing, it's got some really cool swirly bokeh to it. But no, I know I plugged a bunch of Leica stuff, but just so people don't think I'm a brat, like, here you go. It's a very cheap lens.
Yeah, he used another one, he promises. No, it's the same with me with my beloved Zeiss 35, right? That's my favorite. My favorite M lens is a Zeiss 35-28. It's not even a very clever lens, right? Like, it's an old design that I don't think they even make it anymore. But it to me is what a photo looks like, and I love shooting that thing. And I
love it.
Yeah, all's right with the world. Yeah, it's good. But that's the point of having an
happy.
Interchangeable lens system camera, isn't it? That you can change lenses. There's no point being daft about it and just being like, no, I can only use a lens that's made by these people.
I have an idea for you. Are you okay if I stretch this just a little bit more?
I've got about 5 minutes. I've got to take the kids swimming.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Momento.
Okay.
Okay, here's something fun for you. Because you can't break your one camera rule.
Right.
This is going to open up a whole bunch of things for you. This is a PL. Oh, I forgot the lock. It doesn't matter. This is a PL to M adapter.
Okay.
So you can take like a bunch of cinema glass and put it on your M. So one thing that I did with this is I put a bunch of anamorphics on my M and then shot a bunch of anamorphic photography with the M.
Okay.
Super fun.
Yeah.
So pretty cheap. It's by a brand called PayPro, Peipro. You can find it off Amazon.
Yeah.
But if you ever want to try something novel and do something that makes no sense at all and probably makes the entire experience worse, but in the end is kind of fun, get yourself one of these and put some crazy cinema glass on there. So.
Oh, I will. Thank you. I will write that down. Yes. Brilliant. Awesome.
For sure.
All right. Well, I'll send you some anamorphic landscapes once I've done that. Yeah, I'll figure out how to get those.
That would be rad.
Brilliant.
Okay, and if you need help doing the workflow, let me know. I've done a bunch now.
Oh no, I will hit you up for sure. You're getting voice notes. That's how this goes now.
I love it.
Well, this was amazing, man. I really, really enjoyed this, and you were so thoughtful and prepared and kind with your time. So thank you for being on the show.
Man, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Have a lovely rest of the day, and I will see you again soon.
You as well. I'll catch you later. Peace.
Big thanks to Brandon for being on the show. If you go to YouTube now, you can see one of his recent videos is a video about that print that he was talking about making, that he was, I think, quite intimidated by the idea of going and making. But you'll see in the video, turned out great. I'm really excited to see more of what he does. You can also subscribe to this podcast if you don't already. You can do that on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, all the musics. Please do subscribe, tell a friend, pass the show on if you enjoyed it. There's also a midweek newsletter that comes out every Wednesday, and that's available at ianfarrell.com/sign-up. There's a link to that in the show notes. Right, I think that'll do. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you next time.